Hello, I'm Gentle from Gentle Programming. In the previous video, we have just installed a dev C++ compiler in our computer. So in this video, we're going to talk about a very introductory part of the C programming like keywords, identifier, variables and constants, data types, operators in C programming, and also some examples of C programming which will help you to understand the basics of C programming and syntax of C programming. So let's get started. First, uh, start dev C++ compiler. Okay, first I'm gonna help you to understand keyword, right? What keyword actually is. In C programming, keywords are those words whose meaning is already defined by compiler. So we cannot use keywords anywhere in the program, like we cannot use keywords for variable name. So in the programming or in any programming, keywords means already defined by the compiler. So in C programming, there are 32 keywords, and they are also called as reserved words in programming. So and the next is identifier. Identifier is a name given to entities such as variable. So let's get started with a simple program which adds two integers. So .h as include connew.h int main. This is the main function in program. So int a b sum. Now print cap enter and enter first number. Enter first number. Now scanf. I'm just writing code, so just ignore what I'm writing. Just look at the screen, right? So printf enter second number, scanf %d now sum equal to a plus b. Printf sum is %d sum. I'm just writing code. I'm not gonna define it here right now. Return 0. Okay, just compile the code. You can execute, compile. First you have to save the code. Numbers. Okay, no errors. This is just I have declared a header info, and this is the main function of the program. Every C program must have at least one function, and this is the main function of the program. And then here now I'm gonna define about keywords and identifier. In C programming, we have 32 keywords, and keywords are auto, break, case, char, const, continue, default, do double, int, enum, extern, long, show. In this program, we have used int keywords. This is simple. This is on keyword, on type of keyword used in C programming, and also return. This is also the keyword used in C programming. So we cannot declare a variable name like int for variable name and return for variable name. This is the rules in C programming. So next thing I'm gonna define identifier. Identifier is a name. Identifier is a name given to entities such as variables, functions or structures in program. Here in this program, we have defined a variable name as a, b and sum. This is the name of variable. So identifier is just the name of the variable. So here in this program, a, b and sum is identifier. A, b and sum are identifier. So I'm writing here in the comment. This is a single line comment. To write comment inside the code, you can just write double slash backslash. So a, b and sum are identifier, and comments are ignored by the C compiler, so this will not be executed, this will be ignored. This is a single line comment, like single line comment. This will help programmer to understand what we are writing in the code. So, and the next thing, variable. In programming, variable is a container to hold data. Here in this program we have to take two inputs from the user, first number and second number from the user. So we have to store the numbers inputted by the user in a certain variable, a certain identifier. So the identifiers are the containers which are used to store the data or hold the data is called as variable. For example, I'm going to start notepad. For example, int a b. Here a and b are variable. Now next example of variable, for example, int yellow, or just say int div equal to 45, right? Now here div is a variable of int, I mean integer data type, right? So here div is a variable of int integer data type which can store 4 bytes of number. So now the next thing is a constant. In this program we have not used constant, but in programming we can declare constant using const keyword. So for example, we can declare constant using const keyword. This is also the keyword used in C programming. Const double, don't write double, I'm going to write int a equal to 4. Here a is constant, and there's some rules for constants, declaring constants, like you cannot change the value of the constant later in the program. So if you try to change, then error occurs. So if you what a constant actually is, if you want to define a variable whose value cannot be changed later in the program, then you have to use constant. So this is very important in programming, like while sometimes you have to store such a value that which cannot be changed in the later, like the value of pi is always same, 3.14. So for this kind of variable we can declare constant. And in C programming we can define value of constant also using a define preprocessor, but we'll use this constant in later in our example. So I'm not gonna define about constant more. I'll explain about constant, I mean use of constant in the program later in the example. So let's dive into the data types. What data type actually is. Data types. Here in this program example we have used int, I mean integer data type. There are different types of data types available in C programming, like integer data type, which you write int in program for integer number, I mean integer number. And for example, some integer number are 4, 5, -3, 0 and 23, etc. And now next is character. For character, for example, some characters are A, B, I mean letters used in these languages, they are characters. And while declaring characters in programming we have to use a char data type. Now the next is float. For float or double for decimal points number. For example 3.14, 4.56, 7, these are the decimal points numbers. So for this type of number we have to use float or double. So in this program we have used integer data type for a, b and some variable. So this int is a data type. Now next I'm gonna help you understand operators. Also the operators in programming. Operators is very important in programming. Operators are used in programs. Operators are used in programs to manipulate data and variables. How you manipulate data and variable? Operators are used in programs to manipulate data and variables. This is very simple definition of operators. And operators helps to manipulate data and variables in program, and there are different types of operators available in C programming, like arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators, bitwise operators, assignment operators, conditional operators, and many more. And here in this program, in our simple program, we have used a plus operator. This is arithmetic operator, and there are other different types of operators used in program. So I have already told you that operators are used in programs to manipulate data and variables. So we have got two inputs from the user, a and b. I mean, we have stored two data from the user, a and b, in a and b variable. So while adding up these two data, we have used plus operator and equal operator, and this plus operator adds these two numbers a plus b and store in the sum variable. So this is how a simple addition of two integer number program works. So I'm gonna explain this again. This is header file, has include stdio.h, has include conio.h, has include standard input output header file, which will help you where the definition of printf and scanf is defined, and this has included conio.h, a consular input output header file, in which the definition of get is defined, which will help to print the result in the screen for the longer time. I mean, it waits for the keyboard input, so this result will be displayed in the screen. And then here our main function starts, and first of all I have just declared variable that we need in our program, int a b sum, variable of a, b and sum of integer data type, and this is just a single line comment. That how we this is how we can write single line comments in C programming. And printf enter first number, this will print enter first number for this in the screen to get data from the user, and this store that integer data type in a variable, and again enter second number, and this will store value of b in value entered by the user in b, and then this program adds a plus b and store it in some variable, and then sum is this value will be printed in the screen, saying sum is something like if the value of a is 5 and then value of b is 6, then the sum will be 6 plus 5 plus 6 11. This is how a simple program works in C programming. So now let's get started with some programming examples. I will also explain with the help of some examples. Let's write a program which multiplies two floating type numbers. I'm writing multi-line comments here. This is how multi-line comments is written in C programming. A C program to multiply two floating point numbers. Let's get started. Has include stdio.h. Don't forget to write stdio.h in every C program. Without this, printf and scanf doesn't work at all. So has include conio.s int main int sorry, we have to declare a C program to multiply two floating numbers. We have to declare two floating variable for two floating point numbers, float data type a b, and when we multiply two floating point numbers, we have to store it in the certain variable. Let's declare a variable of mul mul of floating data type. Now print just print on the screen enter a floating point number, enter first floating point number, this scanf percent yaf a, enter second floating point number percent f b, mul equal to a into b. Now b. Now print f multiplication of two floating point number is percent f mul. Now write get return 0. Here in the previous example we have used %d, right? So %d is something we use for int, integer data type, but here we have used %f, which is used for float, float data type. And I think we have seen here /n in the program, but I have not told you that what /n actually is. /n is a escape sequence character which is used in program for very specific purpose, right? Here /n helps to helps program or the line start with in the next line. I mean /n means next line, /n means next line, and there are lots of escape sequence characters in C programming like /t, which means tab, and /a, which means I think beep sound, and /yaf have is opposite slash, like this. Sorry for that. And /yaf means form field. We'll explain all about these escape sequence characters and learn all about these in the next videos. So I'm not gonna explain more about these escape sequence characters. So, and nothing new, just same as previous example. So here this is the header declaration, and main function starts. I've just declared three variables a, b, and mul of float data type. Now here printf enter first floating point numbers, and it stores value of floating point numbers in a variable, and here enter second floating point number. It stores value of second floating point number in b variable, and then a and b this will multiply a and b and store it in the mul variable, and then finally multiplication of two floating number is, and the value of mul is printed here in this %f place. And then get means it will help you to print the output in the screen. If we don't use this, what will happen? Just multiplication of two numbers. Let's see the output. What happen if we don't use a gauge here? Oh, this is working in the def C++, but in Turbo C or other compilers, you cannot. This is working in the dev C++, but in other compilers, this window, this output window you can't see output window for a longer time, so you have to write gauge in the program. This is the standard flow of writing a C program code, so you have to write for every compilers, so don't write for this specific compiler. In the previous version of dev C, I think this version also works, you can also write main. No need to write return 0 and gauge. I think in dev C let's compile. Oh, what happened? Sorry, let's then dev C. I'm again opening dev C. Control O. Multiplication of two numbers. Oh, sorry. Dev C. If this happens, then what you can do is just delete this executable file. I'm opening this. In C program, we don't have to write int main, but we have written in our previous program. Look here, in this program I have declared int main function as int main, and I have written value return 0 by using return 0. But in dev C we don't have to do this, just write main and no need to declare here return 0. This works fine, but what I am suggesting you is write a standard code. Don't write just a working fine code. This will not work in other version or other code editors. This may not work in other code editor, other compiler. So you have to use standard code which will work in every compiler. So I'm writing here again int main and then get return 0. Thank you. I think in this video you have understood very well about the C programming, fundamentals of C programming, I mean introductory part of programming, and you have learned different things like keywords, identifier of variables, constants, or data types, and operators in C programming, which are very important. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. I have not told you a very basic things, which means character set. You know English language. In English language we have alphabets, we have numbers, and we use symbols like full stop, comma, etc. And C programming is a computer language. It's very similar. C programming, a computer language, and English language, a human language, right? So in C programming we say alphabets, digits, I mean numbers, and special characters or symbols as character sets. We say character sets in programming, but in simple language, in English language, we just say alphabets, we say numbers, etc. So in programming, character set is nothing, it's just a combination of alphabets, digits, that means numbers, and special symbols. Except these other symbols cannot be used in programming. And in alphabets we can use from capital A to capital Z, and small a to small z, that means uppercase from A to Z and lowercase from A to Z. And in numbers we can use from 0 to 9, and special symbols like comma, semicolon, less than, greater than, dollar, hash, right, and braces, different types of braces, etc. So these are the things that we use in C programming, and I think you have understood very well. But in details about you will learn all these things in the later chapters. So thank you. I'm Gentle from Gentle Programming. Thank you.